and motivating people to be their best. Being recorded. If you were at the conference in Chicago in May, Gideon was our HIIT instructor, and he also has his great Instagram, which is Get Fit with Giddy. So make sure you follow him for great workouts. There's also an app and some new exciting things as we welcome Gideon to be our mentor with HFF. So I'm going to let Gideon take it away.
Thank you so much, Megan. Appreciate it. What's up, HFF scholars? How's everybody doing today? Can I get a thumbs up? You don't have to unmute if you want. Everybody's good? Who's doing bad today? Everybody seems to always be doing good, right? You never ask somebody how you're doing. Oh, I'm just terrible. Have a great day. Anyway, I'm glad to be here with you all. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of chat with you, share my story. I would certainly love to hear about some of what you are all up to, what you are doing, how you are doing it, and just kind of share some positive vibes and great energy with each other. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you to the Herendorf Family Foundation for having me. And I'm super excited to be a part of you all now, because long time, well, not too long ago, we were all in Chicago together. You worked out with me at the Lululemon experiential store, and who knew that that would be the start of what I think will be a fantastic partnership. So again, thank you all for having me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, tell you about how I got to where I am, what I do, etc. And I certainly hope that it inspires you on whatever journey you may be embarking on, especially for those of you who may have an entrepreneurial spirit. And even if you don't, I think my story, which has been formed from me sitting in a very similar position as you, learning from others who may have gone through it before me, and taking tidbits of knowledge and advice and experience and using that to help me shape the decisions and the path that I take. I'm hoping that some of what I give you also gives you some type of boost or some type of jolt to help you, encourage you to continue to do what you do. All right, so as I said, my name is Gideon Akande. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised in this great city. I think some of you may also be from the Chicagoland area. Grew up in Rogers Park, which is on the north side. I went to Lane Tech High School, where I wrestled, I ran track, I played football. I tried to do all the things. I was also in JROTC. If you are all familiar with a program like that, essentially it's for high schoolers. It's Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. It's for high schoolers who want to essentially enroll in the same type of training and basic information and basic experiences as those who eventually go on to the armed services, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, etc. You don't have to, but it gives you that baseline of discipline and education for those who want to or just want to better themselves in that way. I was also senior class vice president, and from there, I graduated from my Lane Tech High School, went on to College of the Holy Cross, where I was a Division I football player. Played all 4 years, captained the team my senior year, and started all 4 years as well too. But not only did I play football, but I also was a peer educator, a resident assistant, a peer mentor, amongst other things. So as you can tell from my high school and my college background, I just loved doing all the things. I love being around people, I love being on teams, and I love to grow in those capacities. Graduated with a political science degree. And then I came back to the city of Chicago. I decided to work in sales for 4.5 years. And that was a great experience for me. I'm not going to lie. I was fresh out of college. I was a young man back home, connecting with friends that I haven't seen in 4 years. A lot of people stayed in the city, so they were able to maintain those relationships because I was halfway across the country. A lot of those new experiences for me were just kind of getting back into the mojo. I was 21 years old now. I have a chance to actually do things in the city, which was a great experience. And again, like I said, catch up with friends and family that I hadn't seen in a very long time. And as I was working in sales, it was a completely different world than what I ever could have imagined it to be. Again, fresh out of college, the sales company gives you a credit card, they give you a territory, they give you a broker list of who you're going to work with and help you manage your business, your block, and essentially you're running your own business with the authority of a company's name behind you. So for me, I was living and working in Chicago, but my territory was the northern suburbs of Illinois into southeast Wisconsin. So Racine, Kenosha, Wisconsin, for those who are familiar with the area, even into Milwaukee. And essentially I would leave work whenever I wanted to. I would travel up into those areas. I would meet with brokers. I'd buy them breakfast. I'd buy them lunch. I'd sit down. I'd talk about different prospects and different quotes that I've given them and what their business needs are and how I could fulfill those business needs. We would go golfing. We would go to dinner. And essentially, I had a chance to just live life and enjoy life and do things that I otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to do. So having that experience and just learning how to speak to people, develop relationships, grow from those relationships, find and fulfill a need, really helped me with what I'm doing today, which I'll eventually get to. And it really helps me in any phase of my life. What I've learned over the course of my life is that it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, the experiences that you are going through now, they will be called upon later on. So that class that you're taking and you say, I'm never going to use that information, or that person that you're talking to and you're like, they can never help me out, trust me, in some way, shape, or form, all of that is going to come back and you're going to be like, I had that conversation before. And now that I have that information, I'm actually able to use it now in a way that's going to benefit me and help me improve not only my life, but maybe the life of others, or put me ahead in that candidate pool. So I'm more likely to be selected by an employer or whatever the case is. So trust me, our experiences in life, as different as they may be, always come back and always serve us in some capacity, especially when we least expect it. I say that to say this. After 4 years of working in sales and doing this and that and traveling and being in the office whenever I wanted to be, being out of the office whenever I wanted to be, having my corporate credit card, doing this, that, and the third, and having all those freedoms, I didn't want to do it anymore. I hated it. 4 years of kind of drudgery. I mean, think about it. I was in corporate America. I was wearing my suit and tie. I was going into downtown Chicago after driving an hour and a half from the south suburbs because I was living with my parents for the first couple of years outside of college. After a while, it got old. It got old real fast. I knew that I wasn't passionate about insurance. It provided me great opportunities. I was able to make some money, but it wasn't where my heart was. I didn't study it in school. So, like, nobody really says, oh, what do you want to be older? I want to be an insurance salesman. No, not too many people raise their hand to say that. It wasn't like a dream of mine, a goal of mine. It was something that I thought that I could do well and be empowered to do and would be fun to do. And it was, but sometimes things just run their course. And I say that to also encourage you that, or at least remind you, or at least give you a heads up that whatever you're doing right now, whatever you think is your goal and your dream, cool, pursue it, do it with all your might. But there may be a time where you don't want to do that anymore, or it doesn't make sense for you anymore, or maybe that passion has run its course. It's okay if you want to do something else. It's okay if you want to switch gears. It's okay if you want to start over. I'm sure some of us may have heard of friends, family members, or maybe even strangers where they're going back to school at 50 years old, at 60 years old, at 70 years old, right? Or they're changing their career path when they have a family with 3 kids. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. Oftentimes, if it's not serving you well, you're kind of slowly dying inside. And I don't think that's a way of life for anybody, and certainly not for you scholars. So keep that in mind whenever you want to switch gears, you can do that, and you can do that and be successful. So back to my story. When I decided I wanted to leave the company that I was working for, I had some decisions that I wanted to make. Like I said, I was able to make some money. I was able to advance myself as a young adult in life. I bought a house, I had a car, and I wanted to maintain the lifestyle that I was living. So, how am I going to do that if I want to switch gears? How am I going to make sure that I'm able to maintain the money that I need to make in order to sustain the lifestyle that I want to keep? So I knew that I wanted to first work with people, and I wanted it to be centered around fitness, athletics, competition, sports, all the things that I've always been passionate about my entire life. I wanted that to somehow be a part of my journey and to be a part of my experience. So I started asking myself some questions, and the question was, what do I love? What can I do all day, every day? And then how can I get paid for it? So for me, it came down to a couple of options. One was to be a teacher of some sorts, maybe teach at a grammar school or a high school. From there, be maybe a PE coach, maybe a coach of the sports teams, and go from there. Maybe it was to go to a college team and be a graduate assistant, or to be an assistant coach of some sorts and immerse myself into the competition that way. And then another option that I was considering was becoming a personal trainer, which I am now. And what I did was I networked. And I'm sure you have heard till you were blue in the face how important networking is. It is so important. I'm sure you've also heard this adage before. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And it doesn't mean that that person is a family member or that person owes your dad or your mom something and they have to come forth and provide everything for you. Sometimes it's you going out there and shaking hands. It's you going out there and introducing yourself. It's you following up on LinkedIn or shooting an email out that way. So networking is so important. And what I did and how I networked was very simple. Don't think of networking as you have to go to a conference and pass out a business card. No, networking is talking, explaining what you do, finding out what other people do, and growing from that connection in whatever way that makes sense for you. And the way I networked to find how I wanted to pursue my next career was asking friends. One of my good friends at the time, her sister was a personal trainer with 10 years of experience. I knew I wanted to pursue personal training. So I said, hey, can you put me in contact with your sister? I would love to ask her some questions, learn about what she does, figure out if it's something for me. And of course, the answer was yes. And from there, Rebecca is her name. She served as a mentor for me. I was able to ask her all the questions that I wanted. What is it like working as a personal trainer? What is it like working with clients one on one? What if I wanted to teach classes? What is it like teaching classes in that capacity? What kind of money can I make? What do the hours look like? What do you hate about your job? What do you love about your job? Right? Oftentimes we find out too late that we like or we don't like something. And it's like, man, if I knew that earlier, I would have done it earlier, right? If I knew that earlier, I would have stopped doing that earlier. So being able to shadow somebody, to ask questions, to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you gives you a leg up so you can determine if you want to pursue those routes. And also helps you avoid wasting time, which I know none of us want to do. So as I shadowed Rebecca and figured out if personal training was right for me, I finally came to the conclusion that, you know what, it is. And remember what I told you before, all the conversations that you have in life, the people that you met 10 years ago, 15 years ago, all of those things end up coming back. Well, downtown Chicago, in the middle of my transition of careers, I was running a race. It's a city race. It was held by Men's Health. We had bibs. We were running through Soldier Field and through the lakefront path and all of that fun stuff, right? I think it was like a 5K, maybe a 10K relay race. So I was out there with friends. At the finish line, in a sea of thousands of people, I run into a whole old high school classmate who also was in JROTC with me. And we're playing catch up. Hey, what are you up to? How you doing, etc. He was actually 2 years younger than me. So I explained to him how I'm making this transition to fitness. And he's like, oh, no way. I'm actually a personal trainer at Equinox, downtown Chicago. I'm like, you got to be kidding. That's actually what I want to do. I want to become a personal trainer. I have no idea where to start. So at that point, he was like, hey, how about you just come over to the gym on Monday? I'll introduce you to some of the managers, etc., and we'll go from there. Not only did I do that, the following Monday, I had an interview. And then the following Monday after that, I had a job. So just from conversations that I had and relationships from years past, because that was at least 9 years before, I was able to secure my first job in a career that has been going for over 15 years now. So just kind of think about that. The people that you talk to when you were in grammar school, when you were in high school, the random person you met at the airport or at the grocery store, like all of those conversations, some way, some shape, some form help mold you into who you are and possibly can present opportunities that you may want later on down the line. So started off as a personal trainer, eventually became a group fitness instructor. And then from there, my business was booming. Things were going well. As Antonio Brown would say, business was booming. Things were going well. And I started my own personal training business in the city of Chicago, leaving the gym I was working for, and essentially became an entrepreneur. Now, remember what I said, my experiences of the past helped shape and mold who I am today. Remember how I said, as a insurance salesman, essentially, I had my own territory. I was managing my own business. I decided when I was in and out of the office, I was making executive decisions for how things were going to run for me. Same thing with my personal training business. I had to decide when I was going to work, how early, how late, who was I going to take on as a client, how did I want to be known for, or what did I want to be known for as a trainer and as a professional? Did I want to use social media to build my platform? Or maybe I wanted to do more in person stuff and less things online and digital. So those were all decisions that I had to make. But luckily, I had experience in making those decisions, so I wasn't overwhelmed. And it allowed me to continue to grow my success. What I mean by that is I started to put out fitness content on a regular basis. Fitness content that helped me stand out, fitness content showcasing my athletic background and my experience, but also my training style, which people gravitated towards. So much so that different companies started to take notice, companies that I didn't even know were watching. So as I was teaching classes and as I was conducting my personal training sessions, I would have clients come up to me and say, "Hey, Gideon, there's a competition coming out called the Men's Health Next Top Trainer. I think you would be a good fit for it." And for those of you who are not familiar with Men's Health is the largest men's fitness brand in the world. So if you are a basketball player, where do you want to go? You want to go to the NBA, right? If you are the tennis player, what do you want to do? You want to win the US Open. All right, if you're a personal trainer, you want to be featured in Men's Health. That's like one of the top achievements you can have to be recognized by such a respected brand. So to have someone say, "Hey, you'd be a good fit for that," and recommend you was obviously an honor. But I decided to take a step further. They said that, "Hey, you can actually apply to become the next face of Men's Health." It was an online competition, online audition process. I don't really think much of those because, like, you think about it, who wins online competitions, right? It's like a 1 in a million chance. Some random person's going to win it. Maybe somebody with a 14 pack, somebody who's been training for 25 years, right? Not somebody who just started to transition into a new fitness career, who just started their own personal training business, who doesn't have a lot of experience. But you would be surprised at how powerful you are, how skilled you are, how respected you are. And I encourage you all to give yourselves that respect that you give your favorite celebrity, your favorite athlete, your favorite actor. Give yourself that same respect. Hold yourself in that same high regard because you are amazing. And sometimes you may not realize it until after the fact. But I'm letting you know right now, you are. So I decided to submit my online audition. There were hundreds of applicants, and they were only selecting 8 as finalists. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to look at all of these applicants online. I'm going to see how they're doing because, again, it's an online audition, meaning everybody can see what everybody was submitting. And as I was watching everyone's videos, I'm like, you know what? Some are cool, but nobody's doing anything that I don't think I can at least match. So, and another teaching point, if you're going to do something, do it real big. So I called up my friend who was a videographer, and I said, "Hey, this is the game plan. There's an audition that I want to take part in. I want you to bring your camera, bring your equipment, bring your microphone, meet me at the park. I am going to come up with a full script on how it's going to look, how it's going to flow, and we are going to film this thing and I'm going to submit it. And hey, if they don't call me, at least I tried my best. And what's the worst that they can happen is no. What's the best that they can happen? Well, I'll tell you about that in a little bit." So he meets me at the park. We're there. It's a little windier than we need it to be, but we're going to figure out how to get it done. And I'm pretty new to speaking on camera at that time. So I was tripping over all my words. I didn't know what I was saying, how I was saying it. I was going over and over again, making the mistakes and pretty much learning on the fly. What was supposed to be a 5-minute video, we were probably out there for maybe 3 hours. Right. And if anybody knows me, they know I'm a perfectionist. Some of you may be perfectionists too. We try to get it done and get it done right. And like I said, I wanted to do it real big. So it was like, hey, no, let's do it again. Let's take it again. I'm going to try to get my words down this time. I mess it up. Do it again and get my words wrong again. And I just kept that hustle, kept that mindset, knowing that this is a big opportunity, right? I'm sure when you were submitting your applications to be HFF scholars, you probably wrote them again, had a mentor read it, rewrite it, redraft it, crumple up the paper, throw it out. I mean, some of y'all are smiling because you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as I went through that process and finally got the finished product down, I posted it up on YouTube, shared it with friends and family, and it was one of those audition processes where people had to vote. The next morning, I woke up to so many comments, so many likes, and so many positive responses that I never thought were going to happen, just because people are out there and they wanted to support me. And people are out there for you too, and they want to support you. Your friends and family want to support you. Mentors want to support you. Your teachers from the past want to support you. And oftentimes we're so scared to share our dreams that we just take it, tuck it in our back pocket, and hope for the best as we hustle in silence, right? No, I'm encouraging you to put out your writings, right, for the book that you want to eventually publish. Put it out there. If you are doing an internship, share that with the world. Let people know what you're doing this summer. Let people know what you're embarking on this fall. as you are now back to school. Like the more you share that information, guess what? The more people can know more about you. They can know more about your story, and then they can offer help that you may not even realize they can offer. So going back to networking, sometimes networking doesn't mean you're approaching people. Sometimes networking means you're just putting things out there for the world to figure out how they're going to support you. So I encourage you to do that. So I became one of the 8 finalists. Men's Health selected me to fly out to Pennsylvania. They put us all up, and essentially the next day they put us through a Survivor style competition series. If anybody's familiar with the show Survivor, some of y'all a little bit younger, essentially you are given a goal, you're given a task, and if you win the task, you get an advantage in whatever comes next. If you lose the task, you get sent home. So there were 8 of us. 8 became 7, 7 became 6, 6 became 5, and I won the competition. I was selected as the Men's Health Next Top Trainer. And in addition to having that title, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And in addition to having that title, I became a contributor for the Men's Health brand, meaning that I was featured in their magazine several times. I was featured on their social media accounts, which really helped me grow my following and also exposed me to bigger brands. So I want you to think about this. The internships that you're doing that you may not feel like you're getting a lot of recognition, or some of the extracurricular activities that you may be doing at school, which may not be highly publicized. All of those things get added to your resume. And eventually that company that you're trying to go for, or that scholarship that you're trying to maintain or trying to acquire, like they see those things. And eventually you get those opportunities because of the hard work you put in silence. And eventually your resume gets bigger, and then other bigger companies or other bigger support systems, other bigger funnels want to support that. And that's how you build, that's how you grow. Not, you don't just wake up and get awarded accolades, right? For me, I was able to win that competition because of a lot of the studying that I did on the human body, because of all of the sessions that I did in the park by myself at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night as I was building my business. It was those experiences that gave me the confidence to speak. It gave me the confidence to move. It gave me the knowledge that I now maintain and acquire to help me do more and to do bigger. And as a result of working with Men's Health, larger fitness brands started approaching me. My wife will tell you, I get free shoes sent to my house, free clothes sent to my house, nutritional products sent to my house. We were just in New York, and if you went to my Instagram page, you'll see a recap video that I put out. They flew us out, me and my entire family, out to a fitness event that I did in New York and that I was a participant for, where it was a boxing workout followed by a live concert with thousands of people in Brooklyn. I lead fitness events all across the world. I've flown to Thailand. I've worked out all across the United States, filmed videos on streaming apps and platforms. There are people that have worked out with me who I've never seen in my life, who live across the world and who shoot me videos and messages saying how much I help transform their lives, all because I'm pursuing my passion, finding ways to do it on a regular and daily basis, connecting with people, and just allowing my love to seep through. And when I was working out with you all, it was in Chicago, it was in my backyard. Lululemon reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have the Herrendorf Family Foundation coming through." I have no idea what the HFF Foundation was, right? But I was like, you know what? They're working with young adults. I like to consider myself still a young adult, even though I'm not. And I would love to support young adults however I can, because I also remember when I had people who were older than me speaking to me about their experiences. And maybe I didn't completely resonate with everything that they were saying, but I would grab one nugget here. I'll grab another nugget there. I'll grab a piece of advice here and use that to encourage me to do whatever I was already doing, or to enlighten me to do more of what I should be doing. So when I had the opportunity to work with you all, I'm so glad that it went well, that the team reached out to me and said, "Hey, would I want to be a part of this?" Right? And this is, again, something else that I can, number one, accomplish, or not accomplish, but another accomplishment that I can add to my resume, but more so something that I can feel good in giving back to others, who hopefully can in turn give back to the next generation. You will, trust me when I say this, you will remember conversations like this, maybe not mine, but conversations like this, maybe with some of the other Live Summit leaders, that you will eventually pass forward to the next generation of young adults as you age and as you become wiser and gain your experience. So with all of that said, I'm still a personal trainer. I've been doing it for 15 plus years. I have my own fitness app now, which I launched in January of this year. So I'm still growing, still evolving. I work with some of the largest fitness brands in the world, helping showcase their products, helping lead their fitness experiences, traveling across the world, just kind of giving my energy and excitement for fitness and gathering people and encouraging them in that platform. And of course, now working with the Herendorf Family Foundation and connecting with you through the live summit. So that's a long speech I just gave right there. That's my story in a nutshell. Hopefully, it inspires some of you all to keep on keeping on. And I certainly want to offer any advice I can, whether it be fitness, nutrition related, whether it be entrepreneurial related, or just in general. Having gone through the college experience, I know what many of you all are doing right now and what that feels like. I can still shed some light on that, or any questions that you may have in general. Thank you all for listening.
Absolutely, Gideon. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Cass.
I just want to say thank you for talking to us, but also it's very, very inspiring. And I'm guessing there's no guarantee that if we work out, we're going to look like you after one, but maybe after 3, right?
After 3, yeah, exactly. You know, we got to build from 1.
Thank you so much for making the time to talk to us. I know that some of the scholars will have some questions and stuff, but I just want to say thank you.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
So we go jump over to our question and answer session. Jamar has his hand up. Go ahead, Jamar, you have the floor.
All right. So firstly, thanks for talking to us today. We greatly appreciate it. Secondly, you mentioned a couple things because I was listening to you speak and all. You mentioned a couple things that were really interesting to me. So I kind of want to pick your brain a bit, if you don't mind. The first one being, you mentioned that on like a smaller scale. So I guess my first question would be like this. You mentioned that you were RA as well as an athlete, and overall you come off as a guy who, you know, as you said, you did a lot of things. So how did you balance a lot of your responsibilities in that sense where you weren't falling behind in really any of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that question applies to now, to be honest with you. I have, like I said, a personal training business. I teach group fitness classes. I have a 5.5-month-old baby boy. So that's a new addition into like try to juggle things. In addition to finding ways to film content for my app, posting on social media for the brands that I represent, in addition to motivational, exercises and tips and demonstrations. So like, yeah, there's a lot of that's being juggled in the air right now, for sure. And even back then in high school, 100%. Do I have it figured out? Absolutely not. Do I overextend myself even to this very day? Absolutely. But I'll tell you this, for me, and I don't know if this is the case for anybody else, maybe you all can raise your hands if this is the same thing for you. I find myself more in control, more effective, more productive if I have a lot going on. If I don't have a lot going on, I feel like, oh, that can wait till later. I can do that next week, and I just don't ever get to it ever, even when I have like one thing to do. But if I have a lot to go do, I know that time is of the essence. I have to compartmentalize, get this done now so I can get to the next, so I can get to the next, so I can get to the next. But at the end of the day, and I'm sure you've heard it before, it's going to come down to priority. There are going to be some things that you can't do just because there's not enough time in the day. I would encourage you to find the things that mean most. Sometimes it means most because it's most important to you. Sometimes it means most because the deadline is most pressing. Sometimes it means most because it's the most valuable, right? So say for instance, I have a test that is coming up that is worth 60% of my overall grade versus a quiz that's going to be only 5% of my grade. Maybe I have to prioritize what has more value in that given point in time. But there's going to be some things that you want to do all of, and as a result, you're just not able to maintain excellence in all of it, which is okay, right? For me, while playing football and being a resident assistant, a peer mentor, and studying political science, could I have been a better student if I dropped one of the other things? I'm sure I could have, right? There could have been more, but that experience for me provided more value than me missing out on one just to elevate another. So these are executive decisions you're going to have to make. At the end of the day, it is your life, and what happens as a result of it is going to be your decision. But ask yourself, what's most important to me? What is a make or break? And decide, how you ration out and how you balance that out. Hopefully that answers your question, Jamar.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Brea. We can't hear you, Brea. There you go.
Now.
Yeah, we can hear you a little. You have on headphones?
Yes. Could you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. My name is Brea, and my question would be if you could go a little bit more in depth on, I know you said that you feel most productive when you have a lot of things to do, but how do you find that balance between overworking yourself, but also taking time to just take care of your mental health and everything?
Yeah, great question. Very, very great question. For the longest time, I did not know how to not work. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but I'm the type of person, especially when I made the transition into running my own business, everything was about my business. So as an entrepreneur, for those who don't know, when you run your own business, if the business does great, it's all you, right? Nobody else takes the credit. You make all the money, you get all the accolades, all the praise, etc. Also, as an entrepreneur, if your business fails, it's all you. There's nobody else that you can blame. You go down with the ship as the captain. So, as an entrepreneur, if you don't, excuse this term, if you don't kill, you don't eat, right? So it's like a hunter. You got to kill in order for you to take something back home to the kitchen, cook it up, and actually have food for that night. So for me, it was like, all right, how can I acquire more clients? How can I build my classes? How can I find a way to get my business to grow more and more and more? And as an entrepreneur, also, there's no such thing as on the clock or off the clock. If a business opportunity comes through at 9 o'clock at night, guess what? I got to respond back to that client and let them know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm available, I would love to do that, let's work together, etc. If it happens to come through at 12 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning, well, I got to be on it. Sometimes ideas pop into your head at random times, and you have to be ready to write those things down or to move forward with those ideas. So for me, it was very, very hard, especially in the beginning, uh, to really find a way to separate work from play or work from downtime, however you want to look at it. Matter of fact, I was even in a 5-year relationship before I met my wife. That oftentimes, in full transparency, that relationship was maybe second, third down the line in priorities. So that was definitely not the best situation for me or for my partner at that time, but it was what it was, and I can look back on it wiser now and understand that that wasn't healthy, and it didn't help my situation at all. Now, my wife is great at saying, "Hey, put that phone down. Enough social media for today. Put those emails away. Spend some time right here," and help me considerably in realizing how much more powerful it is to have that separation. What I've learned is that when you give yourself that break, when you actually turn your mind off or shift gears a little bit, adjust your focus, you find out that I find out, at least for myself, that I'm actually able to come back stronger, more focused, energized, even with whatever it is I really wanted to put my energy towards. So, think about it. If you're in a car and you've been driving that car from sun up to sundown, eventually that car starts to wear down, maybe not that day, but over the course of the month, over the course of the year, over the course of the 5 year, it's going to break down eventually. But if you drive that car for a little bit, you put it away, you tune it up, you know what I mean? You wash it, keep it running good, you refill the oil, and you drive it again, it's going to last you much longer than otherwise. So I like to kind of put it into that analogy for you. You have to give yourself that break in order for you to be more productive as a friend, as a partner, as an athlete, as a student, as a whatever it is that you are, in order for you to be able to be successful longer. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you do have to put in that work. Sometimes you have to put your head down, put the blinders on, and find a way to get it done. But always remind yourself that there needs to be a time for me to cut off, to reset, and to readjust. So to go back to your question, how do I find time to do it? I give myself that time. I talk it over specifically for me. I like to put things on my calendar. If I put it on my calendar, I'm showing up for it or I'm blocking off time for it. So I put my workouts on my calendar. I put my sessions on my calendar, calls and conferences and appointments. I put that all on my calendar because that works for me. I have to see it. And then when the time comes for me to be there, everything else doesn't matter. So if it means that, hey, I'm spending with my time with my son and I'm getting him ready for bed, then that's what I'm doing. If it's a workout for me, everything stops when it's workout time, and that's what I'm knocking out. I make sure that I have my home gym set up and good to go, so I have no excuses for that not to happen. Same thing with date night with my wife. Same thing with church on Sunday. Like all of those things get time on my calendar so that I can respect it, and that I can also respect myself and what I need in order for me to be the most productive in everything else.
That was a great explanation on working on that work-life balance. I feel like that's one of the things, even as a college student, that you have to find the middle ground of how do I make it to Live Summit? How do I prepare for this next exam or this paper? So finding that work-life balance is definitely a key to ensure your success. So with that being
Yeah.
said, I know that you ended up in a different career than you majored in. We both did. I majored in political science as well. So how do you feel that college, majored in political science, but more importantly, your experience in college help you and still help you propel as a successful adult?
Amazing question. Great question. Thank you for asking that. College was very, very important for me. I don't feel like I needed college in the sense, in your traditional sense, right? College, because I didn't follow suit with government, a job in government or a job in law. A lot of people would think like, okay, so then what did you go to college for, right? And I wouldn't argue that that's not a fair question. It's a very fair question. But there were so many things that I learned in college that I use to this very day, just like all the experiences in my life, as I mentioned to you earlier. With college, you learn and you grow so much from when you first started until when you leave. First and foremost, with a political science major, and I'm sure this applies to all disciplines, but how you think is for the most part shifted. How you think is expanded. You actually grow with your thought process. As a political science major, and especially at the time I was going to school, a lot was going on in the Middle East in response to what happened on 9/11. And as a result, all of the information that we were being taught was fresh information. So how to understand like what conflict is, not only international conflict, but how does conflict apply to your everyday life? And then how to think from the other side, right? So, I have my views, I have my opinions, but what I also like to do, and sometimes my wife is like, just tell me how you feel. And sometimes I'm like, I can't tell you how I feel. I need to learn all the information. I need to get all the facts. I want to be able to see it from my point of view, and then that point of view, and then the other point of view. And I want to see it from a bird's eye view in order to better understand, right? That's just the type of thought process that I have. And I feel like it's very much shaped from my political science experience and career. I also have learned how to deal and manage relationships with other people. Imagine you're in college, right? Depending on what college you go to and where you are in the Midwest, on the West Coast, on the East Coast, the people are different. So me being in on the East Coast at an Irish Catholic school after coming from a very diverse school in the city was very different. Being one of very few people of color on campus was very different. So I had to understand, all right, this is how I am in this space. This is how I may be viewed in the world. This is how I'm viewed with my family. This is how I'm viewed in my city. All of these are different places, and I have to understand what's going on and how it's going on. Do I feel comfortable here? Do I like it here? Do I not like it here? What are these conversations I'm having? Do people not know where I'm coming from? And maybe I have to be an ambassador and a champion for who I am, what I represent, and what I do. Being in Chicago and being of Nigerian descent, a lot of people have know Nigerian people and have went to school with Nigerian people and maybe even have Nigerian friends. Whereas when I was going to school, people don't even know where Nigeria is, right? So these are different things that you have to understand. Like, hey, this is the world, and depending on who you are and where you are going to shift things in terms of who you're around and the mindsets that they may have, and the instruction that you would need to learn for yourself, in addition to the instruction that you would need to give other people. And then the networking, with my school and with the connections that I have, oftentimes, again, I'm a personal trainer. I teach group fitness classes, but I do more than that. I'm now also a fitness consultant. I'm a content creator. I'm a coach. So now oftentimes I'm reaching out to businesses directly, and I'm talking to the head of human resources. I'm talking to the chief marketing officer. I'm talking to the CEO. And these people are very much the people I went to school with, right? These are the people that are your age who have decided to take a different path. But essentially, you're speaking to people who have similar experiences, right? They're college educated just like you. Maybe they are a political science major like you were, right? You have these connections, you have these similarities that you're able to draw on even though the paths in your life have gone in very different routes. So yes, there are so many intangible experiences and so many other lessons that I've learned outside of just what my major has taught me. So, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because like I said, everything ends up coming back full circle in some way.
Corey, can I step in? I have a question really related to, like you were just talking, we talk a lot on the Herrendorf team about hard skills versus soft skills. And if scholars don't know, hard skills are like the things like Excel and Microsoft, things that you can tangibly use, whereas soft skills are networking and opportunities. Like Gideon said, if you had to prioritize, 2 hard skills and 2 soft skills that you've really needed in starting your own business, what would they be?
You just want to put me on the spot like that, huh?
And
Okay.
where do you, like, let's say for the hard skills, what's something you wish you had invested in before you started your new business that you didn't realize you would need?
Yeah. Ooh, good question. Everybody give it up for Megan one time. Just give it up for her
That's
one
my
time.
soft skill. I'm good at asking questions.
I'm curious how people would view this this answer I'm about to give. If you think that connecting with people, finding similarities, making them feel comfortable around you, being able to connect with them no matter who they are, what they are, do you think that's a hard skill or a soft skill? If you think that's a hard skill, raise your hand.
It's a really good point.
If you think it's a soft skill, raise your hand. If you have no idea what kind of skill that is, go ahead and raise your hand. Because I'm like in between as well too.
Yeah.
For me, and especially with what I do, I feel that one of the best skills you can have is being able to speak to anyone and have them feel comfortable with you. Now, think about this. As a salesperson, right? You want to be able to let somebody have their guard down, hear what you have to say, feel open and trusting of you, whatever you are pitching them. As a personal trainer, as a fitness instructor, oftentimes people are coming to you maybe with insecurities about their body, maybe with specific goals that are personal to them. You also want them to feel at home, comfortable, easy, etc. As a public speaker, right? You want somebody to be able to feel like, you know what, I can relate with this person, or at least I'm interested in what they have to say. So for me, in what I do, that's one of the most important skills I feel that I can possess, and one of the skills that I try to work on every day in some capacity. How can I be more inclusive? How can I be more welcoming? What does my body posture look like? What does my grooming look like, right? Something as much as what does my hair look like? Did I trim my beard? Did I put on deodorant today? Like all of those things actually matter in how somebody receives and accepts you, right? So for me, that's one of the most important skills. Whether you categorize that as a soft skill or a hard skill, I'll leave that up to the rest of the crew to decide. That's a really good question, Megan. I need some time to actually think about that. Also, I guess that's a good skill right there, is knowing your limitations and admitting your limitations. Oftentimes we want to do all the things, even when we're not qualified. I think people respect if you are not sure on something and you let them know, hey, I actually don't know, I can get back to you. Or I don't know, I can connect you with somebody who can. Or I don't know, I would love to research that for myself and let you know when I come back with. You don't have to have all the answers, right? Like I didn't graduate, or excuse me, I didn't decide what I was going to major in until my junior year, right when I had to. So political science wasn't something I knew that I was going to major in going into it. Like I said, I did sales for 4.5 years. That's when I figured out that I didn't want to do that anymore, right? So all your answers don't have to be tied up in a knot, tied up with a pretty bow. Sometimes you coming back to it is actually a sign of strength. So knowing where you're weak at, I guess is my point. Knowing where you're weakest, knowing where you're strongest, working on weaknesses as long as it serves you, but also continuing to allow your strength to be your strength and honoring that, going forth with what you want to. So I'm gonna leave that there, but I will follow up with answers to that questions by the next time I see this group for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
We have one
Thank you for
question
that
in
question.
the chat, and then we're going to hop to Scott. So Miguel said, what tips do you have to increase productivity?
Yes, great question. Resources. Most of you, if not all of you, have a cellular device. right? What are you doing with that cellular device? Are you just scrolling all the time and double tapping, right? Are you just using it as a camera? Are you just using it for text messages and phone calls? Or are you also using productive tools and productive apps on there? There's so many different things that you can do on your cell phone, as we all know, from gaming to keeping in touch with people that we love and know. But I challenge you to find ways to increase your productivity by using the electronics and the technology that we have around us. So for me, if I were to pull up my phone right now, I mean, my home screen and even my watch, I find ways to like just keep everything as succinct as possible. My calendar is, like I mentioned before, is the most important thing to me. If I can, I'm using my calendar for anything and everything. Birthdays are on there, appointments are on there, all and any type of reminders are on there, and I use that frequently. My text messages and my emails, on my phone, the icons are right next to each other because for me, I have to be in contact with my clients. I have to be in contact with business prospects. So being able to quickly see who's reaching out to me, prioritize who I need to get back to, is very important to me. So using the technology that I have, I also use notes. Ideas come to my head all the time, random things that I need to do where maybe I don't have time to put it into a specific reminder, but I'll grab the Notes app, which is also on my home screen, right next to everything else I just mentioned, and jot something down there, which I can easily get back to. I also like to increase my productivity by having my morning routine and my evening routine, right? And I'm not talking about washing my face and putting on makeup. I'm talking about, all right, I wake up in the morning. What's the first thing I do? I check my email. Actually, I check my calendar first to see where I'm going, what I'm doing, make sure there's nothing that popped up there that I didn't remember that's like out of the ordinary. Then I'll go to my emails. Then I'll go to my text messages. I'll follow up with whatever's going on there. I even put down things as simple as eat breakfast, right? Things as simple as foam roll or stretch. Things as simple as like take 5 minutes and just close your eyes and meditate, right? So there's different things that I'll do and I'll list out specifically so there's no way I can say, oh man, I forgot. Or, we get busy with so many things and we get pulled in so many ways for our attention. It can be very easy to forget even the simplest things. So jotting them down, having them in a place, and then making it a routine to go and see it daily, your daily routine morning, your daily routine evening, or however you want to map it out, I feel are powerful. And then doing that on a consistent basis, doing that on a regular basis, and holding yourself accountable is one of the biggest things. At the end of the day, you're your own boss, right? And bosses don't cancel. So if you have made it a goal, if you have made a decision, remember you are the most important person in your life, and it's up to you to hold yourself to those high standards that have gotten you into the scholarship condition and scholarship situation you're in, that have gotten you into college, right? That have gotten you all the awards and accolades that you have acquired, and of course, all the awards and accolades that you want to acquire. So keep that in mind, but holding yourself accountable, listing things down, knocking them out as you have listed them down are best ways to keep yourself accountable and keep yourself on task.
All right, that was a great response. We're going to go with our last question from our scholar, Scott.
Hi there. Thanks for talking to us. I just had a couple questions. I was wondering, how important is goal setting in your life, and what advice do you have to other people for goal setting of their own?
Goal setting has always been a challenge of mine. Not gonna lie to you. When people ask me, hey, Gideon, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? I don't know. Like I'm trying to get to tomorrow, right? I'm trying to get to the weekend. I'm trying to get to the week after that. So for me, goal setting has been really, really challenging in that regard. Now, what I will say is this. I have an idea of where I want to go. I have an idea of what I want to do. How am I going to get there? I'm not exactly sure. However, I know the things that I need to do that are more than likely going to get me closer to there. So, for instance, if you ask me, hey, Gideon, what brands do you want to work with? I have brands that I love, brands that I'm passionate about, etc. How do I get there? I'm not exactly sure. So, how do I set a goal to get me somewhere where I don't know how to get, right? But it always goes back to a number of the things that I learned throughout the course of my life as I've been drilling home all day is setting myself up for success by putting myself in positions to be successful by doing the things that I love and doing them passionately. So for instance, if I wanted to work with ABC brand, and I know they are in the fitness space, I know that I want to continue to excel at what I'm doing as a professional in the fitness space. Furthermore, I want to get a little bit closer to who they are and what they do. So if this brand goes to trade shows, if this brand shows up at fitness events and fitness festivals, well, then maybe that's what I start to do more of. I start to show myself and show my face at these fitness festivals. If there's an opportunity for me to headline or to lead an event or an experience where they will be, I do that. And then I ask for, hey, how can I get in touch with your manager, your district representative, et cetera, and start to build relationships from there. Maybe I showcase them on my social media, tag them so they can see how I'm using and engaging with their product and sharing it with the people that I know, love, and trust, right? So I guess I'm kind of answering your question, even though I don't have that direct path, or maybe I don't have it in my mind. I find ways to do more of what I love so it comes off naturally, and to find ways that are going to inch me towards that goal. So let me ask you, Scott, since you asked that question, what's a goal of yours? What's something that you are interested in working on that maybe you've already started, or maybe you haven't started yet and need some guidance? And maybe we can kind of work through that together.
It's a great question. I'm a huge fan of everything hockey. It's my number one passion. So I want to find a way to incorporate that into whatever I do, whether it's like I've done in the past, volunteering and helping youth learn how to play or get a job where I'm involved with it somehow. That's my goal. And I just want to set myself up to get to that area.
I love it. I love it. Now, Scott, does that include playing? Does that include coaching? Does that include working for a team in some type of administrative capacity? What are you thinking? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Maybe working in administration. I am in medical sciences right now. So the current goal is be a team doctor. And I just want to set myself up in the best way possible to be able to do that.
Cool. I'm going to keep asking you questions, Scott.
Yeah.
What have you done so far? Understanding that that's your goal, what have you done to get yourself closer to that goal so far, if anything?
I'm working on my medical sciences degree and I'm doing the best I can in my studies right now. The best goal to do that would be to get to med school. So I got to just study for the MCAT and just build up my resume, like you said, all the little things to build up your resume in order to get to med school, and then get in contact with teams I want to work with. It's all about what I'm really hearing from you today. It's all about putting yourself out there. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, or the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question: how can you be a squeaky wheel right now?
That's a great question. That's, I guess, kind of where I'm struggling right now to think about that.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, thank you for your honesty. Yeah. And guess what? When you say, "Hey, I don't know," then you're giving the person that you're talking to an opportunity to offer you some information, right? So when you're networking and you're like, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and they're like, "What are you doing now?" Don't try to make up something. Just tell them like, "Hey, I actually kind of need your help and hoping you can provide me some direction." And that's when they can provide you that value. People want to help, right? You just got to give them an opportunity to help. So I'm glad you said that. Are you going to a school that has a hockey program right now?
Yeah, they have I'm signed up for intramural leagues. And yeah, they do have a hockey team. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you know who the team doctor is?
I do not.
Or the team P2. So maybe it's, "Hey, I love hockey. I'm actually pre-med right now. I also would love to see how you work with the team in the capacity that you do. Would love to shadow you, ask you a couple of questions. Do you think that you would be open to that? Have you ever considered doing something like that?"
I haven't even thought of that, but that's an excellent idea.
Because what happens is now you're going to get great experience as to what it's like working in a team capacity as a medical professional. And you'll find out, you know what, actually, I don't like doing this. These guys are jerks and it's not fun. Or actually, I love doing this. I want to do more of this. I'm so glad I'm doing it. I really want to narrow this down. And your passion grows even more. So now as you go to med school and as you pursue other opportunities, they're going to look at your resume and like, oh, he already did some of this in college. Actually, I know who that doctor is because he used to be one of my colleagues from way back when, right? Or you can ask the doctor that you work with, what direction do you have? Well, actually, I can send you to this minor league team because one of my good friends happens to work on the team over there, right? So the different things start to sprout from you just putting yourself out there. So always ask yourself, if you can, what can I do right now to get myself closer to my goal? If you want to be a dancer, well, start to look at local dance schools. See if they're doing shows in the fall. Maybe they're doing Christmas shows, right? And it's only a three week commitment for you to actually practice and learn something and do it over the holiday where maybe there's not as much of a time commitment to take you away from your studies. Or maybe it's in the summer and there's an internship opportunity at your school or maybe back home, whatever the case is and whatever you want to do for your summer. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? Because oftentimes what you do now is going to set you up for what you will become later.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. So Scott, next time I see you, what are you going to tell me?
That I've reached out to the my school's hockey team and tried to get in contact and see if or maybe the town junior team. I'm in Halifax, and see if I could do some job shadowing. At least that I put myself out there and figured out whether this is what I want to do or not.
That's it right there. That's it right there. Matter of fact, Megan, if I can do this, I'm going to challenge everyone that's on this call right now to write down a goal that they have and to also write down what's one or two things that they will do within the next, let's call it 3, 4, 5 weeks, and hold them accountable to that. So if they can write that down, get that to us, within a week's time, and then we follow up and see how everybody has progressed, because it's not about what you want to do. It's not about where you want to be. It's about what work you're willing to put in and that you do put in to help yourself get there. Otherwise, dreams will stay dreams, right? It's the action that's necessary in order for it to manifest and to change into something positive. So I challenge you all to do that. What do you want? What are your goals? It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world, right? But we all can do something more than we're doing right now to get us to where we want to be.
Thank you, Gideon. That was absolutely amazing. We will certainly follow up with the scholars in regards to those pretty much goal settings. One of the things that we actually will do with HFF as we speak one-on-one with our scholars is set goals, and those immediate goals, SMART goals, setting those SMART goals that's attainable. With that being said, we want to thank you again for joining us this evening and being very powerful and putting so much into this. Before we let you go, we've got one more thing to ask you. We would love to know what you do for your mental health, and with using the statement, I blank because, telling us what is that one thing that you do and because why?
It's not just one. There's a lot of things that I do for my mental health. Yeah, there's a long list of things, but I'm going to share some of them. I spend time with my family for my mental health. I spend time with my family because that's what means the most, right? If my arms and legs stop working and I'm not able to exercise anymore, I still have my family. And my baby boy is growing and he's changing every single day, and I don't want to miss a single step in that transformation and in that process. So for me, everything, when I'm with my family, everything else doesn't matter. It's my wife, it's my son, that's my world, and it's a perfect disconnect because nothing really lingers in the back of my head when I'm around them. It's solely them. I exercise for my mental sanity and for a mental break, and I do that because even though I do it for a living, there's certain things that just give me that freedom, that just give me that expression, especially when it comes to boxing. I didn't mention I'm a 3-time Chicago Golden Glove boxing champion, and how I fell into that, I guess I'll save a story for another day. But when I'm in the ring, or when I'm training, there's something about that sweat, that exhilaration, and the freedom to punch something as hard as you can without it punching back. That is it's very freeing. It's very liberating, and it's just cathartic. It's soothing. As aggressive as it is, it's very soothing in many ways too. So let me just stop with those two things there: family and then a good sweat.
Thank you so much, Gideon. We are super appreciative for you, and we will close out with
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the scholars for participating today. I found that you're very, very inspiring for me. And I look forward for all of us taking part in your challenge, including our team. And we will circle back with you with all of our answers. So
I love it.
Gideon, and also I know that Gideon has generously also said he's happy to take questions and stuff like that, right, Gideon? If anyone wants to follow up, I know that Sabina sent his link. Yeah, so just thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of our Herendor family, and thank you guys for making the time. This was really, really special. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe, Scott. Bye.
Bye.